Hey guys, it's Tanner with Built Not Bought, and this is going to be a little bit different video today. I found some awesome tongue and groove barnwood just stacked up in the loft of this barn, and the inside of my wood shop has been the ugly yellow spray foam for the past year, and I've been looking for something that I could put up to make it look a little bit nicer. And as always, I'm on that teacher budget, so finding this stuff up here for free is amazing. The downside is it is literally covered in 50 plus years of dust and bird shit, so there's going to be a ton of work. I also don't know if there's enough to do my whole wood shop or not, but I'm going to climb up in there and we'll get right to it. All right, we're going in. It's always a little bit sketchy going into these old barns. You never know if there's going to be a raccoon or a badger or a skunk. The dogs are going crazy. I'm sure there's a ton of mice in here, etc. But I get to climb up this rickety ladder. I've been up here before. I need to replace all these steps. The thing is, this barn, I would like to have torn down, as sad as that is. It's right in front of our house and it kind of blocks our view. And I sold all my cows, so I don't have much of a use for it anymore. The issue is it's massive and it's going to take a lot of money to tear it down. There's some cool wood in here I'd love to salvage from it, but that might be a video for another time. All right, here we are. See if my camera will adjust to the lighting. Here's the loft of the barn. There's a ton of roof leaks in here, so some of it's a little bit wet. We just got some rain. But in the way back, there's a couple stacks of tongue and groove. It's like 1x4. It's a little less than 4 inches in width. But that's the stuff that I'm after because I think it'll go really well on the walls, kind of like shiplap almost. The issue is, let me show you this. When I mentioned earlier this wood was in a little bit rough shape, I was not kidding. Years and years of dust, dirt, and bird doo-doo, of course, just piled up on these things. The plan is to take these boards and either chuck them out the window in the back of the loft, just board by board, throwing it out there, or going to the front of the loft and just launching them out onto the grass. Oh, and don't worry, this plywood on the floor is covering a massive hole, so hopefully I don't fall through. Should probably go get my respirator on too. All right, I worked up a pretty good sweat there. I don't even know for sure, a couple hundred boards. Throwing out that loft. As I'm picking them up, I'm wondering how I'm gonna clean these all up. So my initial plan of using the Restorer, I don't know if that's gonna be the most efficient option. I'm halfway thinking of going out and buying a pressure washer, lining them all up on the grass and just going to town with a fan tip or whatever to get all that mud and shit out of those tongue and grooves. Otherwise, they're not going to interlock together very well. And I think I'll be able to do it quicker that way. I need a beer. Oh man, my nose hurts from that respirator, but it's definitely necessary. I've been working for like, I would say 2 hours. This is all I have done. I haven't even put a dent in the pile behind me, so I don't know. I'm heading to Fargo tomorrow. I might just have to bite the bullet and buy a pressure washer. We kind of need one on the farm anyway, so yeah, I think they're $300-400, but Something tells me I'm gonna be able to line them boards up, spray them all done, and do probably 5 per every one with the restorer. The restorer is doing a nice job. I'll credit that. It's just very hands-on and it takes a lot of time. And like I mentioned, these boards are disgusting. It's just like cemented on mud and poop and Lord knows whatever else. All right, it's a new day. We're changing up our tactics a little bit. I went to Fargo and bought a pressure washer, so we're gonna see if that works any better or not. I sure hope it does because them suckers are expensive. All right, everybody, we're back into the shop and I've got a good amount of that barnwood cleaned up to at least get started. And here is my tentative game plan. I always am one to kind of wing it, and we're sort of doing that here. The sidewalls in my shop are about 5 feet. So the plan is to put the barnwood on the sidewall. So where my hand is back here on both sides. And then from this point on is going to be just way too difficult to add any sort of paneling or planks just because it's super uneven. It was pieced together with random material whenever they put this up. The rafters are all different and kind of makeshift, and I just don't have the time or the energy to try and level off all the foam and everything else. So the plan for that is to buy a paint sprayer with a wand on it and maybe rent some scaffolding or something and just paint the entire ceiling like a matte or satin black so that it kind of hides that ugly yellow. That's my main goal here, is to get rid of all that ugly yellow foam. And I think if I can somehow maybe leave the beams looking natural, kind of that rustic wood look, and then I got the rustic barnwood on the side walls and this cool brick in the back. If I decide I don't really like the brick anymore, I'm going to tear that out and do barnwood up that wall as well. And that's going to be kind of where my workbench is and where I'm going to do all of my filming in the future. The next plan of action is going to be to get rid of everything that is on this wall here, move it to the center of my shop or to the opposite side of the wood shop, and get started on putting all these panels in. I'm gonna line my laser up on the bottom and then try and keep a nice straight line to set that bottom row perfect and level. And it's barnwood that's 50, 60, 70 years old, so it's probably not going to stay level, but it'll give me a good reference to start with. Unfortunately for me, a few months ago I added all of this like shelving for lumber behind me, my clamp racks, all that stuff is like screwed into the sidewall. So there's gonna be an hour or so of just clean up and tear down work in here. I'm not gonna film it and bore you with that process. I'm gonna shut up and get to work. And I'll probably join back in when I've got a board or two hung up on the wall. Using my laser level, I set the first run of boards, and this is just going to help keep everything somewhat level as we work our way up the wall. With the help of a cordless brad nailer, this went pretty efficiently. If you don't have a cordless brad nailer, I highly recommend it. I don't care what brand you get, they're just so convenient to not have to lug a cord around and listen to that air compressor kick on constantly. I have the DeWalt one and I've used it a ton over the last 2 years, and it was a game changer for this project. With the help of a hammer and that brad nailer, I was able to tackle this project. This barnwood was really beat up and some of the tongues and some of the grooves were broken, but I was able to get them to fit somewhat tight together all the way up the wall, and I'm pretty happy with how it went. All right, I've had enough for one day. Made some pretty good progress. I'm about up to the point where I'm gonna have to start notching out around those little support trusses. So that's gonna take a little bit more time and thinking. And when I work for longer hours, I tend to like lose my train of thought a lot more often, make a ton of mistakes. So I'm gonna wait till tomorrow morning to do the important stuff. But here's a quick rundown of what we did today. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It's gonna seem really, really dark in here. Black ceiling and these dark, dark walls, but the plan is to whitewash these just to lighten it up. I think it's gonna look cool. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like it plain? Should I leave it as is? If you can look past the absolute tornado of clutter in my shop, I've made a lot more progress the following morning. I started working on the other side and it was going pretty smoothly. I'm excited to see how this looks with the whitewash on it. I bought some whitewash that was made by Minwax. It comes in a blue can from Home Depot, and this is how it looked after one coat. And I really thought it was going to look incredible, and it just didn't quite turn out how I envisioned it. So I went with a plan B here. We had some leftover Sherwin-Williams agreeable gray in the garage, and that's what I decided to move forward with. I just put that in my HomeRite sprayer and started to spray over that whitewash. And I'm much more pleased with how this looks. I think it's going to brighten up the place a little bit, especially once that ceiling is black. And it's going to be a cool backdrop for setting furniture in front of, and also to brighten up the shop as a whole for filming. And I'm sure this is going to upset a few people. This wall looked a little better than the other wall that I already painted, but it's just a little bit too rustic for my taste. My furniture is much more modern, and maybe if I was more into the rustic furniture, this would be great, but it kind of goes against what I'm going for, so that's why I decided to paint it. Oh, well, got one side done. That respirator sucks. Hate that, but it is looking good. And this is my favorite part of the whole process. One, it's kind of fun to use these airless paint sprayers. This is the Graco 7, and I recently purchased it. I'll probably come out with the review on it soon. But also because this yellow spray foam ceiling is just so gosh darn ugly, and anything would be better than looking at it. So covering that up with a cool matte black that will, in my hopes, kind of just hide the ceiling is going to be a huge game changer for the shop. There's just a lot of ugly stuff up on the ceiling, and I don't want anybody's eye to be drawn to it during my videos. Well, we're going to wrap this video up now, I guess. It's time for me to get to work on projects that are going to help me make money instead of cost me money. These shop renovations and upgrades are a tough one because you got to squeeze them in, and they can get expensive, and every hour that your shop is out of service is money lost. So I'm gonna do one quick B-roll to show you what I've got done, and then we'll talk about some of my plans for the next couple upgrades. But I wanna say thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. There's a few touch-ups here and there, but for the most part, I'm really happy with how this all is coming together. On the back wall, I want to add a Built Not Bought sign, and that's where I'm going to set up my workbench and do a lot of my filming from back there. I also need to install a bunch of sound dampening foam pads because it's a little bit echoey in the shop, and I think it'll help reduce the noise from my machines, and also when I'm talking to the camera, it will be a little bit more clear. Mostly, I'm just super pumped to not have to look at that yellow spray foam. Thanks again, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of the shop upgrade. We'll see you on the next one.